Welcome to the Dread Factory commentary and playthrough. Let's get right into it. We have just snuck into this factory by getting shipped inside this cramped container. But we do get a clear path out of the container. And we immediately see this massive red eye of the malevolent AI that controls this facility. And it has its tiny little tentacles wrapped all around the place. This serves to draw your eye immediately toward this direction, and then the lines leading toward it. If we actually follow those lines, we can see the end of the level as a nice little foreshadow and a long-term goal for the player. Um, the door also opens to the right specifically so that we ensure that the player does see all of this stuff. Uh, and the story of the level is that we are infiltrating a factory to try to blow it up. And so we have just been shipped in through a shipping container, which we can see a lot more of over here. After the player turns to the left, they will see a moving conveyor belt that draws your attention and promises a little bit of action. But before reaching it, we will get the introduction to enemies in the level. Because it is just two enemies and we get a significant height advantage plus our choice of half or full cover, this serves as a nice little introduction for the player to make sure that it's not a difficult first combat encounter. Moving on to the conveyor belt, we can grab a quick little ride along it and then jump off before we fall into the lava. Here we can see some more enemies in a slightly different context. We get to shoot down on the enemies. I also want to take a little bit of time to look at this big vista here. As I mentioned, the story of the level is we're supposed to follow the flow of production from the source, which is the materials coming into the factory, and then along the conveyor belt where these metal cubes get melted down into molten metal. That then gets pumped through this pipe here. If we know that before, we can follow this and see that that's where the everything is leading. If we don't know that, we get this section kind of highlighted straight away. And that kind of serves as the midterm goal for this big room of the level. Moving on down these stairs, do a quick little jump here. We get another escalation of difficulty for the level with these enemies. Kind of intentionally slowly ramping up the difficulty with more and more complicated enemies and more complicated situations. Most importantly, more enemies, which means, oh, where did you come from? Which means that we need to be shoot more accurately to kind of not have to reload all the time and give the enemies more opportunities to hit us. Now we reach another conveyor belt we can ride along. As you saw, the enemies down here already moved up to intercept me. I was stopped to talking, but we can still kill all these other enemies. There we go. Now that we're here at the midterm goal of the level, we can see that we can't actually continue along the flow of production onto the next area, but we can kind of see hinted at the next section of the level that we saw from our starting position. But this whole part is kind of made as a bait and switch to try to confuse the player a little bit. They get here where they thought they were going, but realize they need to do something else before. Looking around, we can kind of see a big glowing button and a light cable from that. Following that, we see that that reaches this section up here, which is a clue to where we are going. If we look at this other side instead, we can follow this line, then flows up into here and there, and then again leads to this little control room that kind of oversees this whole room. So moving along this section, I kind of want to talk a little bit about the use of color in this level. As you can see, almost everything here is either black, orange, red, or yellow, which is a very intentional choice, partially because it helps really sell that feeling of industrial environment, but also because it allows me to use blue as a contrast color. For example, that whole drawbridge was lit up in blue as well as the control room. So that means, so it stands out very effectively. Now we're here, we can kind of again use the logic of following the light cables, and we can kind of figure out that this is an elevator. Nice. Up here we get to see another vista of the place where we entered the level. And we get a quick little 3 enemies to kill. It's supposed to be a more relaxed section of the level. So we get, essentially we are allowed to miss once per enemy up here. Here we also see like more of the conveyor belts and some other molten metal flowing down into the big pot to kind of really give that sense of a factory. Once up here in the control room, we see this yellow glowing button. It kind of contrasts ironically against the blue of this section. But if we move up and press that, we can see that the drawbridge is moving, and then we can also follow the light cable back toward the drawbridge. After that, we get this big, nice, like open hole in this kind of fence situation, and then a massive safe platform to land on below that. So it kind of encourages the player to jump and not take the long way back. Moving on to the second room of the level, or the second big room of the level, we can see that the glowing metal has flowed now into this tank and then onward into, and it looks like it's being cast into missiles further ahead. I want to quickly talk about these stairways. Whoop! And how they were originally built because I really needed something to like sell the illusion of a lived space, but I didn't want the player to actually walk downstairs here when jumping is so much more fun. So I placed the enemies in a line to kind of encourage the player to go toward them, and then also put these glowing lights in a line that I also wanted the player to jump down here. You can see that the staircase turns you around 180 degrees if you do walk down it, which is, again, a disencouragement to do so. Moving on from that, we can see that we have a lot of like missiles over here, and even more are being produced as we speak. The molten metal has been put into like blanks and is then being press cast into missiles that are then being cooled by this big machine over here. So moving on up these stairs, and here we can see more of this blue light that's kind of hinting that this is the right way to go, and then even more of that bluish purplish light over there. And that's where we want to go, and that's where the missiles are going, so we should probably follow the missiles. The stair kind of neatly shows us that we can jump up onto this thing, and then the railing is put on the way we don't want the player to jump. So if we can time this right, we can jump onto and kind of hang onto the missile and ride across this massive chasm. As we then get to the other side, we can jump off and then click this button to initiate the destruction sequence of all these missiles and deal a massive blow to the AI of this facility. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any opportunities within level design. Contact information can be found in the description below or in the contact section of my portfolio. Thank you for watching.